The city shimmered below Ethan Cole's glass office. Evening lights began to glow, washing the skyline in gold and silver. Ethan stood by the window, silent, holding a black credit card between his fingers. It wasn't just a card, it was a test. He turned slowly toward the 4 women seated around the long table. Each of them worked under him, and each one had caught his attention in different ways. Today, he wanted to know something deeper, who they really were when no one was watching. Lily sat with her back straight, her perfume faint but deliberate. She was the type who always dressed to impress. Amanda leaned slightly forward, confident, used to making her point known. Chloe smiled politely, her posture relaxed, but her eyes alert. And then there was Sarah, quiet, with tired eyes and a simple ponytail. Ethan placed the black card on the table. "I want each of you to take this card," he said evenly, "and spend it today. Buy something you think is worth it. No limits, no rules. Just one condition, bring me the receipt tomorrow." They looked at him in surprise. "Is this a test?" Lily asked, half smiling. Ethan gave a faint nod. "In a way, yes." He didn't explain further. He didn't need to. Sarah looked at the card, unsure. She never handled things like this. Money wasn't a game to her. She thought of her son, Noah, waiting at home with his homework and empty fridge. Ethan noticed her hesitation. "You all have 24 hours, he said. "Use it wisely." He picked up his coffee, ending the conversation. One by one, they left his office. Lily's heels clicked with purpose. Amanda whispered to Chloe, both already plotting what to buy. Sarah lingered a moment longer, her heart uneasy. Ethan watched her. She seemed different, like she carried a quiet world on her shoulders. He wondered what she would choose. When the office door closed, Ethan placed the card's spare copy on his desk drawer. He smiled faintly. This test wasn't about money. It was about heart. Outside, night fell softly over the city, and somewhere in the quiet streets below, 4 very different women were about to show who they truly were. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the soft scratching of a pencil on paper. Sarah knelt beside her son Noah as he carefully traced letters in his notebook. The smell of reheated soup filled the room. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "You're getting better at your writing," she said gently. Noah looked up, his small eyes bright with pride. "Will you come to the school fair tomorrow?" Sarah hesitated. "I'll try, sweetheart." She always said that, and it always meant the same thing. She wanted to, but life didn't always give her the time. Her eyes moved to the table. The black credit card lay there, gleaming faintly under the yellow light. She had never held something that heavy with meaning. To her, money wasn't a luxury, it was survival. Rent, groceries, shoes for Noah. She turned the card over in her hands. It didn't feel right to use it on herself. She opened her worn notebook of bills. Overdue notices stared back. Electricity, medical checkup, grocery lists she had never completed. Her chest tightened. Ethan's words echoed in her mind. "Buy something you think is worth it." She whispered softly to herself. Worth it for her. Worth wasn't diamonds or designer clothes. Worth was peace, warmth, food, and safety. She stood up and looked around her small apartment. The walls needed paint. The shelves leaned a little to one side. But it was home. It was where Noah's laughter filled the air, where they shared soup and stories and hope. Noah tugged on her sleeve. "Mom, can we get new crayons? Mine are small now." He showed her a handful of worn-down stubs. Sarah smiled faintly. "Maybe," she said. That word maybe had followed her for years. Maybe next time. Maybe next paycheck. Maybe when things get better. She held the black card again, thinking of the other women. Lily would probably buy jewelry. Amanda might buy something for the office. Chloe, maybe something fun and loud. Sarah didn't want to impress anyone. She wanted to do something that mattered. She walked to the window. The city lights glowed far away, like another world. Tomorrow morning, she decided, she would take the card to the grocery store. Maybe buy a week's worth of real food. And maybe, just maybe, fix that broken heater so Noah wouldn't shiver through the night. She turned off the lights and tucked Noah into bed. His small hands clutched his favorite stuffed bear, one ear missing. As she watched him sleep, Sarah whispered, "I'll make it count." The black card gleamed faintly on the table, waiting. Outside, the night deepened. In another part of the city, 3 women scrolled through designer websites. But here, in this small apartment, a mother was making a quiet decision that would change everything. The morning air was cool and clear when Sarah and Noah stepped off the bus. The city was already alive. filled with the rhythm of daily life, cars honking, shopkeepers rolling up shutters, the faint smell of bread from the bakery down the street. Sarah held Noah's hand as they entered the grocery store. Bright lights and soft music filled the aisles. She grabbed a cart, still unsure if she should even be here. She wasn't used to freedom when it came to money. Every item she usually bought was weighed, measured, compared. But today, she had that card. Ethan's words stayed with her. Buy something you think is worth it. Noah ran ahead, pointing at boxes of cereal. Mom, can we get this one? The one with the toy inside. Sarah smiled faintly. Okay, just this once. She pushed the cart slowly, picking items she had skipped for months. Fresh fruit, real cheese, chicken instead of instant noodles. She added a small chocolate bar for Noah. He beamed. For a moment, she forgot it was someone else's card. She just felt like a mother providing what her child deserved. At the bakery corner, she paused. The smell of fresh bread made her close her eyes. She thought of how Ethan probably expected something different, something extravagant. Maybe this was foolish. But when she looked down at Noah, his small hands holding the cereal box tight, she knew she was doing the right thing. They moved to the checkout counter. The total amount blinked on the screen. Sarah hesitated, heart pounding as she handed over the sleek black card. The cashier glanced at it, surprised. "You're lucky to have one of these," she said with a smile. Sarah only nodded. She didn't feel lucky, just grateful. The machine beeped. Approved. It felt strange, like breathing freely for the first time. As they left the store, Noah looked up. "Mom, are we rich now?" Sarah laughed softly. "No, honey, but today, we have enough." They walked home together, carrying bags filled with real food and a sense of quiet relief. Sarah felt light, almost happy. But then, as they passed a small donation stand near the exit, she stopped. A volunteer stood there collecting money for local families who couldn't afford winter coats for their children. Sarah looked at Noah, then at the remaining balance slip in her hand. She still had plenty to spend. Without overthinking, she walked back to the volunteer and swiped the card again. "For the kids," she said. The woman at the stand blinked, surprised. "Are you sure?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, I'm sure." When she and Noah walked away, he tugged at her sleeve. "You gave them money." Sarah nodded. "Sometimes, what we give away means more than what we keep." He smiled quietly, as if he understood. The morning sun followed them home, warm and forgiving. While Sarah and Noah unpacked groceries in their small kitchen, the other three women were living a very different evening. Lily leaned back in her chair, the city skyline glittering behind her. "I told you," she said, lifting her glass. "He's testing our taste. The more expensive, the better." Amanda laughed, brushing her hair back. "It's about confidence. CEOs love women who know what they want." Chloe grinned, showing her new bracelet. "Well, I bought this, and I booked a weekend spa trip to—" If that doesn't impress him, nothing will. The table sparkled with luxury bags from high-end boutiques, perfume bottles, sleek shoes. Everything screamed status. Lily opened her new clutch. "He'll remember who deserves his attention," she said. Her tone was smooth, but her eyes carried competition. Amanda's phone buzzed. "Look at this," she said, showing her receipt. "I spent almost $10,000. That should prove I'm not afraid to make big moves." Chloe laughed. "10,000? I went for 15. You know what? They say go big or go home." Their laughter filled the night air, bright and hollow. None of them thought deeply about the meaning behind Ethan's words. To them, worth it meant luxury, image, attraction. None of them imagined that maybe he was watching for something else. Far above, in a different corner of the same city, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse office. The lights of the skyline reflected in his glass of water. He had already received notifications of the card transactions, designer stores, jewelry, high-end restaurants. Then, one small purchase caught his eye, a local grocery store. The amount was modest. Then, another entry donation to children's charity. He leaned back slowly, setting down his drink. His brow softened. He whispered to himself, "Sarah Miller." Ethan looked out the window. He thought of her quiet eyes, her hesitation, the way she listened more than she spoke. He felt something stir inside him. The other women, for all their charm, had revealed what he already suspected. But Sarah, she had shown something else. He closed his laptop and looked at the city. Tomorrow, he would hear their stories. He was ready to listen, not just as a CEO, but as a man curious to see what true worth looked like. In another part of town, Sarah was tucking Noah into bed with a full stomach and a warm blanket. She had no idea that her small choices had already reached Ethan's heart. The night stretched quietly across the city, connecting two very different worlds, one filled with glitter, the other with grace. Morning came bright and clear. The office buzzed with the usual rhythm of work, but inside the executive boardroom, the air felt different. The four women sat waiting, each holding the results of their 24-hour assignment. Ethan entered quietly, his expression unreadable. His presence carried a calm authority that made even confident people fall silent. He set his tablet on the table, glanced at each of them, and said softly, "Let's begin." Lily spoke first. She placed a sleek designer bag on the table. "I bought a new outfit," she said proudly, "something that reflects success, ambition, and power. You said to buy what's worth it. To me, image is everything." Ethan nodded, taking a note. "Thank you, Lily." Amanda followed, pulling out a perfume bottle. "I chose a fragrance that represents leadership," she said smoothly. "It's about presence. When I walk into a room, I want people to remember me." Ethan gave another small nod. "Noted." Chloe leaned forward, smiling confidently. "I booked a luxury spa weekend. I believe that taking care of yourself is the best investment. Relaxed people perform better." He didn't comment, only turned to Sarah. Sarah hesitated, her hands resting on a small envelope. "I didn't buy anything for myself," she said quietly. "I bought groceries, and a few things for my son. Then, I donated to a children's charity near the store." The room went silent. Lily raised an eyebrow. "You donated with the boss's card?" Sarah looked at her calmly. "Yes, I thought helping others was worth more than anything I could buy." Amanda scoffed slightly. "That's noble, I guess." Ethan didn't speak right away. He studied Sarah's face, the quiet confidence in her voice. There was no performance in her tone, no attempt to impress, only sincerity. He turned to the others. "Thank you all," he said finally. "You've shown me exactly what I needed to see." The meeting ended, but Sarah remained seated as the others left, whispering about what would happen next. Ethan stayed by the window, looking out over the city. "Sarah," he said after a pause, "why didn't you buy anything for yourself?" She smiled faintly. "Because I already have what I need. My son, a home, and work that helps me stand on my own." Ethan watched her leave. Something about her words lingered, steady and true. He had seen ambition, confidence, and charm before, but what he saw in Sarah was something far rarer. That morning, he realized this test had revealed more than he planned. It showed him what genuine worth looked like. As the door closed behind her, Ethan whispered softly, "She passed." That evening, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse office. The city spread before him in waves of silver light. From this height, it looked perfect, organized, clean, efficient, but he knew better. Beneath the surface, people struggled, made choices, and revealed who they were when no one was watching. The black card rested on his desk, a simple object, yet powerful enough to expose character. He tapped the tablet and reviewed the spending list again. The contrast was striking. Thousands spent on luxury, pleasure, appearance, and one small line grocery store, donation to local children's charity. He leaned back, thinking of Sarah's words, "I already have what I need." For years, Ethan had tested people, business partners, managers, employees. Everyone said they had integrity, but few proved it when temptation appeared. Money had always been his way of seeing truth. He remembered the first time he saw Sarah at work, months ago. Always early, always polite, helping others without being asked. She never tried to stand out, but somehow, she did. Now, after this small experiment, he saw her differently, not as an employee, but as someone with real strength. He stood, walking toward the window. His reflection looked back, successful, powerful, but suddenly, he felt something missing. He had everything money could buy, yet none of it felt as genuine as the look on Sarah's face when she talked about her son. The world outside kept moving, cars, lights, people chasing their next goal, but he stayed still, lost in thought. His phone buzzed. A message from Lillian, invitation to dinner. Another from Amanda, offering to discuss future leadership opportunities. He ignored them. Instead, he opened a new message and typed slowly, "Sarah, can you meet me tomorrow morning? I have something to discuss." He hesitated for a moment before pressing send. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't thinking like a CEO. He was thinking like a man who had just seen something rare: kindness without expectation. He closed the lights and looked at the stars beyond the glass. Somewhere in that vast city, Sarah was probably reading Noah a bedtime story, unaware that her honesty had touched a heart that money couldn't reach. Ethan smiled faintly. The test was over. But for him, something new was beginning, a quiet realization that true worth isn't found in wealth or image. It's found in choices made with love. He whispered to the empty room, "Tomorrow, she'll know what she taught me." The city lights shimmered in the distance, bright yet silent, as if listening. The next morning, Sarah arrived at work early. The office was still quiet, sunlight spilling across the polished floors. She tried to calm the flutter in her chest. Ethan's message had been short. "Meet me at 9. No explanation, no reason. She walked down the long hallway toward his office, every step echoing in the silence. When she entered, Ethan looked up from his desk and smiled slightly. "Good morning, Sarah. Please, have a seat." She sat carefully, folding her hands in her lap. "You wanted to see me, sir?" He nodded. "Yes, I wanted to thank you." Her eyes widened slightly. "Thank me." Ethan leaned forward. "You might not realize it, but your choice yesterday said more about you than any resume ever could. Most people spend money to show power. You used it to show compassion." Sarah didn't know what to say. "I only did what felt right." "That's exactly why it matters," he said quietly. He reached for a folder and slid it toward her. Inside was a document with her name on it. She read the first line and froze. "Promotion to executive assistant to the CEO." She looked up, confused. "Sir, I don't understand." "There are others more qualified." Ethan shook his head. "There are others with experience." "Yes, but not with your heart. I've seen how you work, how you treat people. This company needs someone who leads by example, not appearance." Sarah blinked back tears she didn't want to show. "Thank you. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept it," Ethan said with a small smile. "You earned it." She nodded slowly, still processing. As she stood to leave, he added, "One more thing. I noticed you donated part of the card's amount to a children's fund." Sarah hesitated. "Yes, I didn't think you'd mind." Ethan smiled. "I didn't. In fact, I matched your donation last night." Her eyes softened. "You did?" He nodded. "You reminded me that real success means giving back. Thank you for that." For a moment, they stood in silence. Two very different people, connected by one simple truth: kindness mattered. As Sarah left his office, she felt lighter than she had in years. Not because of the promotion, but because someone had finally seen her not as an assistant, but as a person who tried to do what was right. Outside, the city was waking up. People rushed. Phones rang. Deals were made. But Sarah walked slowly, her heart full. In the corner of the lobby, her reflection caught her eye. She smiled quietly. Sometimes the smallest choices could open the biggest doors. A few days later, Sarah received another unexpected message from Ethan. It was short again. "Meet me at 3 p.m. Bring Noah." She hesitated before replying, unsure why he wanted to meet her son, but curiosity and trust led her to agree. That afternoon, they met at a small toy store downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it was bright and full of laughter. Ethan stood by the entrance. No suit this time, just a simple shirt, sleeves rolled up, a relaxed smile on his face. "Good to see you, Sarah," he said. Then he knelt down to Noah's level. "You must be Noah. Your mum talks about you a lot." Noah grinned shyly. "Hi, sir." Ethan handed him a small gift bag. Inside was a set of model cars and a book about building dreams. Noah's eyes lit up. "Thank you." Sarah started to protest. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," Ethan said. "You taught me something important, and this is just my way of saying thank you." They walked through the aisles together. Noah's laughter filled the room, light and pure. Sarah watched, her heart full. Ethan glanced at her. "I used to come to places like this with my sister when we were kids," he said quietly. "We didn't have much, but we had each other. Somewhere along the way, I forgot how that felt." Sarah looked at him gently. "It's easy to forget when life gets busy." He nodded. "But you reminded me." Noah ran up, holding a small stuffed bear. "Can we get this one, Mom?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, we can." Ethan reached for his wallet, but she stopped him. "No, this one's on me." He chuckled softly. "Fair enough." They left the store together, the sun warm against the pavement. Noah skipped ahead, holding his new bear tightly. Ethan and Sarah walked slower, side by side. "I've been thinking," he said. "You're doing an incredible job raising him. "Thank you," she said quietly. "It's not easy, but he's my reason for everything." Ethan nodded. "That's what makes you strong." For a long moment, they said nothing. The world around them moved, but they stood still, bound by a simple understanding. When they reached the corner, Ethan turned to her. "You gave meaning to something that was just a card. You made it human. I won't forget that." Sarah smiled. "And you gave someone like me a chance. I won't forget that either." Noah waved his bear in the air, laughing. In that moment, the test, the money, the office, all of it, felt distant. What remained was something far more real: respect, gratitude, and the quiet start of friendship. The city lights began to glow again, and for the first time in a long while, they both felt at peace. A week passed. The office had settled back into its rhythm, but something unspoken had changed between Ethan and Sarah. There was more ease now, a quiet respect that didn't need words. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Ethan sent her a message. "Dinner, no business, just a thank you." Sarah hesitated, then replied, "All right." They met at a small restaurant tucked between two tall buildings. It wasn't the kind of place with luxury furniture or expensive art. Instead, it smelled of fresh bread and coffee. It felt honest. Ethan arrived first, greeting her with a calm smile. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I almost didn't," she said, smiling lightly, "but I figured it would be rude to turn down dinner with my boss." He chuckled. "Tonight, I'm not your boss, just Ethan." They ordered simple food: grilled chicken, soup, and tea. For a while, they sat in easy silence, listening to the soft rain tapping against the window. Ethan finally spoke. "I started that test to see who understood the meaning of value. I thought I was testing others, but maybe I was the one being tested." Sarah looked at him curiously. "How so?" He leaned back, thoughtful. "I've spent years surrounded by people who want something: money, influence, recognition. You didn't. You just wanted to do what's right. That made me realize how far I've drifted from what really matters." Sarah looked down, stirring her tea. "Maybe that's why we all get second chances to remember." He smiled. "You believe in second chances?" "I have to," she said softly. "Without them, people like me wouldn't survive." Ethan nodded slowly. "You're stronger than you know." Their conversation flowed easily after that. They talked about Noah, about her dreams, about how she once wanted to study education but couldn't afford it. Ethan listened closely. No business tone, no pretense, just genuine interest. When the check came, she tried to pay her part, but Ethan gently pushed her hand away. "Let me," he said. She smiled, shaking her head. "Still trying to test me?" He laughed quietly. "No, just thanking you for reminding me what real worth looks like." They left the restaurant together, stepping into the light drizzle. The city shimmered around them, reflections dancing in the wet pavement. For once, neither of them felt alone. It wasn't romance. It wasn't charity. It was something quieter, deeper, a shared understanding that kindness had power, even in a world that often forgot it. As they said goodnight, Ethan looked at her and said, "You changed how I see things, Sarah." She smiled softly. "And you proved that not every test is meant to break someone." The rain fell gently between them, washing the night clean. The days turned into weeks, and the story of the black card test slowly faded inside the company. The other women moved on, still chasing promotions and luxury, but Ethan and Sarah's connection grew in small, meaningful ways: simple conversations, honest smiles, mutual trust. One Saturday morning, Ethan found himself walking through the park near his office. He wasn't there for business. He just wanted fresh air. As he crossed the small bridge by the pond, he saw a familiar face. Sarah sat on the grass with Noah, feeding ducks. Her laughter carried softly through the morning air. He watched from a distance for a moment, smiling to himself. She looked free, no work stress, no tension, just a mother and her child, happy. Noah noticed him first. "Mr. Cole," he called out, waving eagerly. Ethan walked over, smiling. "Hey Noah, I didn't expect to see you here." Sarah stood, brushing off her hands. "We come here every weekend. It's Noah's favorite place." Ethan nodded. "It's peaceful. I can see why." They sat on a nearby bench, watching the ducks glide across the water. "I wanted to thank you again," Ethan said quietly. "You changed more than you know." Sarah smiled. "I didn't do much." "You did," he said firmly. "You reminded me that wealth isn't what we own. It's what we give, and how we care." Sarah looked at him, thoughtful. "You found your answer then?" He nodded. "Yes, I found my balance again." For a while, they sat in silence, watching Noah chase after the ducks, laughing. The sunlight touched the pond, breaking into small ripples of gold. Ethan reached into his pocket and handed Sarah an envelope. She looked at it, surprised. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled. "A scholarship fund for working parents who want to finish their education. I named it after you." She froze. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," he said gently, "because people like you remind others that good still exists in the world." Sarah's eyes glistened, but she said nothing. Instead, she looked toward Noah and whispered, "Thank you." Ethan stood, buttoning his coat. "You gave meaning to something I used to take for granted. That's the best return I could ever ask for." As he walked away, Noah ran back to his mother, holding a feather. "Look, Mum, lucky feather." She smiled through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart, very lucky." She looked toward Ethan's fading figure, her heart full of gratitude and calm pride. Sometimes life didn't reward you with wealth or fame. Sometimes it gave you something greater: dignity, respect, and peace. The breeze rustled through the trees. The city hummed in the distance. Sarah held the envelope close, watching her son play under the morning sun. The test was over, but its lesson would stay forever. True worth isn't found in what you buy. It's found in what you choose to give. The pond shimmered like gold as the scene faded into quiet, gentle light.